Hi everyone, it's me Catherine. Today I'm going to talk about my reading plans for the year of 2020. And this year what I've decided to do is to try and get my physical TBR down. It's not gone out of hand, it is still in a manageable state, but it has been quietly growing without me realising, and I'd just like to nip that in the bud before it gets out of hand. So this year I'm only reading books that I physically own that are on my bookshelf. And if I want to read anything else, it either has to already be in my Kindle library or I have to get it from an actual library. So I'm not going to say I'm not allowed, but ideally I'd rather not buy any books unless the ones that I'm really super duper excited about, and for that reason I haven't looked into releases this year, so I can't get excited about anything. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. We'll start with the books I've had on my shelf the longest. I'm pretty sure these are the ones I've had for the longest. So first off, we've got Butterfly Burning by Yvonne Vera. I have had this one on my shelf for years. I think I got it not long after I started this channel. So that's about 5 years now. Going into 6, I think. God, yeah, I've had this quite a long time. And the thing is, I've started it and it's not even that long a book, so I just need to get around to reading it. But this is it's about a young woman, Fefalafi, who is a bright, independent young woman, and she meets a man from Batha, whom she loves very much, but she's not happy with the life that she has in her home, and I think this is a story, but she feels the story is that she feels a bit suffocated, like she's not satisfied with her life there, no matter how happy she might be with Funbatha and how much she might love everybody there. I think I get that sense that it's not enough for her. Yvonne Vera's writing is supposed to be really beautiful writing, so I just need to get it read. Then we have The Book of Lost Things by John Connolly. This I bought, I think, around the time my dad passed away, and this follows a young boy who's dealing with the loss of his mother. And I think books start talking to him, the books have started to whisper to him, and then they take him he ends up in like a fantastical world, and I think that's actually about as far as I've got in this. Yeah, I have started reading it, see, I was using the receipt. Yeah, 25th of the 9th, 2015. So I bought this 3 days after my dad died. And I started it and I just haven't got around to finishing it, so I just need to get that finished. And then we have Pax by Sarah Pennypacker. This is set, I think we're on the brink of war. I don't think the war's actually happened yet. But there's this family who had a fox, and then they had to let the fox go. And the young boy of the family, he's not happy about that, so he goes in search of his fox when there's a war about to break out, just breaking out. And I bought it because I wanted to know what happened, and then I just didn't read it. So I'm going to get this read. I'm hoping it's a happy ending. If it's not, well, I'll let you know. So next up are some fantasy books that I haven't read yet. So the first one is part of a series that I have had quite a time with, in that I hate it, but at the same time was unable to stop reading it. And I decided once I realised this book was a thing, I decided that this book would be it for me in that series. I think there's only one more book after this, but this book is it. This is it. And it's Tower of Dawn by Sarah J Maas, which is part of the Throne of Glass series, and I've done a few videos on my thoughts on the Throne of Glass series, and mainly but this book is Kale. This is Kale, and I love him, and I want to see what happened to him. And then once I know that, once I've done with this, this is over. The Throne of Glass series, if you don't know, it follows Selena Sardothian, who is an assassin, and she ends up working for the king, and stuff happens, and Next we have a trilogy that I've heard many, many good things about, and so I think it was a Christmas present actually. I asked for it for Christmas and then I haven't read it yet, but I'm going to read it this year because that's what this video is. And it is The Magician's Trilogy by Lev Grossman, consisting of The Magicians, The Magician King and The Magician's Land. Like, I've heard so many good things about this and I don't actually know what it's about. I'm going to be perfectly honest and upfront, but like I said, heard good things. People told me to read it. I'm very simple like that. Someone tells me to read it, I read it. I mean, I don't read it. Someone tells me to read something, I buy it and then wait a bit and then maybe I'll read it. But I'm going to read these this year. Absolutely going to read them. Definitely. 100%. Another Christmas present is Raising Steam by Terry Pratchett, which is a Discworld novel that I haven't read. This one is following... I've just read the synopsis, and you know what I hate? Like, I know how it's supposed to be read. Like, it says a steaming, clanging new invention driven by Dick Simnel, the man with, and then it's read, the man with flat cap and sliding rule. But when people write that, when people try and write that glottal stop there, they put T apostrophe and it right bugs me. It right bugs me. Because to me, when I see that, then it's the man with T flat cap and T sliding rule, and it's not. It's whip. The glottal stop is there. Whip sliding is no T. It's not a T. That makes it look. I know that there's not like a. That's probably the way to write it, but it bugs me because it looks wrong. It looks like, and you even get some people who don't speak that way saying it to flat cap. It's whip. One of my pet peeves. As someone who talks like that, it's just one. I just don't like it being written that way. Maybe nobody else cares. Maybe I'm the only one. But anyway, I don't know what this is about. Something about trains? Something about trains, but I'm sure it's funny and I'm sure it's great because it's Terry Pratchett, and if the speech is written with that T apostrophe, I'm going to be upset. The only way the T apostrophe works is if the word it follows is a vowel. For example, Tinternet. That works. The internet becomes Tinternet. Flat cap is flat cap. And then my most recent addition to my fantasy shelf, which I've seen mixed reviews about, to be honest, so I'm a bit actually more interested to read it now that it's not people have really loved it, and then there's people that just really didn't, so I'm interested to see where I stand. But it is Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo, and I enjoy Leigh Bardugo's writing. I love the Shadow and Bone trilogy. I love the Six of Crows duology. I love King of Scars. So I'm excited to read it. I'm more excited now that it isn't a book. Because when everybody loves something, I get kind of scared that it's not going to live up to that hype, because it's got mixed reviews now. I can go into it with wondering which side I'm on, not worrying if I'm going to be on one or the other. So I'm excited to see, and yeah. As for what it's about, Yale, I think there's some magic in it. I don't know. Another book that I plan to read this year is Geekerella by Ashley Poston, or Poston. I'm assuming it's Poston, like Boston with a P. It's part romance, part love letter to nerd culture. It's a fairy tale for anyone who believes in the magic of fandom. And being a fan of things, and being quite passionate about being a fan of things. I like hearing stories about how people met through fandoms and things, so this seems like it would be right up my street. I think it made the rounds on BookTube like a while ago, and I actually nabbed this from my sister who read it and thought it was okay, so I'm like, don't get rid of that, I want to read that first. So we'll see. The next book is a book I'm sure I don't need to tell you about, because I just need to read it. I just have to read it, because it was one of those books that was important. It was important and it needs to be read. And that is The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas. I've just got to read it. Okay, then next we have a translated work of fiction, and it is The History of Bees by Maya Lunder. And this is a dystopian, and it's told from 3 perspectives. We've got William, who is a biologist and a seed merchant in England 1851. We have George from the US in 2007, who is a beekeeper. And then we have China in 2098, Tao, who hand paints pollen onto fruit trees now that bees have disappeared. So it sounds like it's going to be a bit of a weird one, but now I've completely forgotten what this was about. Now that I've checked, I'm actually genuinely really interested in reading this again. There we go, and I think it's translated from, I want to say Norwegian, but I might be wrong. Yeah, originally published in Norwegian, and the translator is Diane Oatley. So next up we have another piece of translated fiction, this one from Swedish, translated by Neil Smith, and this is The Crow Girl by Eric Axelsson. And this is a crime thriller which I enjoy. I think I've mentioned this before. I enjoy crime stuff, I enjoy mystery stuff, and thrillers sort of like, they're like an intense version of that, which I also really enjoy. So I don't really know what it's about. Murder, it's hunting a killer, maybe not everything's as it seems, you know the drill. So, and then the last 3 books I have are also like thriller, crimey-wimey things. The first is Before I Go to Sleep by S.J. Watson. I actually watched the film of this a few years ago, but I didn't realise when I bought this. It wasn't until I started this, because I have started it, and it sounded really familiar while I was reading it. I'm like, I'm sure I know this. And then I looked it up, and this is the book that the film is based on. And basically we're following a woman who she's got some form of amnesia, and she can't hold on to her present memories. Whenever she goes to sleep and wakes up, her brain resets, but it resets to different times. Like sometimes she wakes up and she thinks that she's a teenager, sometimes she's a bit older, but she's having trouble, she can't hold on to her memories. So she started a diary sort of thing, where at the end of the day, when she's got a bit of time to herself, she just fills it out and lets herself know what's happened. So then when she's in I don't know if it's, I can't remember if she leaves a note for herself, or there's something that reminds her to look to where, because obviously she wakes up and she forgets she's even done this, so there's a reminder somewhere so she can go back and look through. And it's her sort of like trying to cope with life like this and living with her husband. I think he's called Ben. Not great with names. I couldn't tell you what her name is. Christine. Her name's Christine. And you start to realise, and she starts piecing things together, that things aren't quite what they seem. And I guess I already know what happens. I know the twist. But I'm interested to see how it was written. I know how it played out in film. I'm interested to see how it is written. The next book is one that I think made the rounds on BookTube, because it's a YA thriller, which is One of Us is Lying by Karen M. McManus, and this is following high school students. 5 high school students, only one of them dies, and his death was not an accident, and the other 4 are now suspects because he had some dirt on them or something or other, and one of them is lying, I guess. Or maybe more, or maybe none of them, or maybe they all did it. Who knows? I will when I've read it. And the last book on my list is The Couple Next Door by Shari Lapena. I've tried looking at pronunciations. Every interviewer pronounced it slightly differently, and I haven't heard her actually say her name. So, Shari Lapena until I can find a definitive pronunciation. This, as with thrillers, you're better off going in not really knowing a lot, so the blurb doesn't really tell me much, except that a couple go next door to their neighbours. Their neighbours don't want the kid there. Dad says it's fine because they're only next door. They have the monitor, and guess what? The kid goes missing. Who would have guessed? And I guess it's following that. And that's all I really know. So we'll see if it's any good when I read it. Okay, so that is it. Those are all the books, all 16 of the books that I plan to read throughout 2020. 16 is a nice number actually, and that's just over half of my Goodreads goal, which is 30. So if I can get those read, that's a little over a book a month, which is very, very doable. And while I'm getting through those, I can read other books on my Kindle or from the library. Not buying any more, Catherine, this year. Definitely not. Anyway, so that is it for my reading plans for this year, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments below what your reading plans are for the year, if you have any. And I will hopefully see you in another video. Bye!